And so with the property and why I study it, this is basically when the phone rings and we've got a client that is interested in us doing a service for them, whether it's landscape, irrigation, fertility apps, or whatever. We need to know a little bit about the site. And there's some good information that's publicly out there that we can grab to help us come up with a fairly good rendering of the property before we even do the site visit. And so when I get a phone call, and I'm getting pretty good at pre-qualifying a lot of these customers. I know who are tire kickers, and I know the ones that are, just shopping for a price. I can figure that out pretty quick. And I think that's just come with getting burned several times, that you just learn these things. And so when we get a phone call, I'm immediately going to send them out a questionnaire about what it is that they may think they want, because we're people's problem solvers. We're helping them discover what it is that they may need in their landscape. Now, granted, there may be customers that know exactly what they want, and they're going to tell us. Those are the easy ones to figure out. Maybe they've already hired a landscape architect or landscape designer to draw up a plan. Those are my favorite customers. Those are the customers that I'll be glad to give a free quote to. What I want to do is try to eliminate that customer who's wanting free advice and wanting that free consultation. Big difference between consultation and a free estimate. And so the phone rings, I send out that survey, get those answers back. I've got their address. I'm going to pull it up on geodata. I'm going to look at Google Earth. I'm going to figure out how big the lot is. And I'm actually going to try to find the site plan. And the number one person we can ask for this is the homeowner. Hey, Ms. Smith, do you have a site plan of your property? Some people will, depending on when they bought their house. If they bought it in the 90s and they're trying to redo their landscape now, more than likely they've got a survey. The banks used to require it. Anytime you purchase a new home, the banks required a survey. They quit doing that late 90s. Now, people can buy a house and there is no survey. I would never want to buy a piece of property without having a survey done. I want to know exactly where my lot lines are, and if I have any, structures that may be impeding the neighbor, or, worse, some of their structures, coming in over my property. But you can find this stuff. And if not, you can go to Google Earth. You can go to your local municipality's GIS or geodata website and pull up a pretty good preliminary survey. And I like printing this out, and I like blowing it up to the size that I'm going to take to the site and do this study. So I'm going to print it out. It's going to be 8.5 by 11. Technically, we can draw that fairly quickly. It shouldn't take more than 5 or 10 minutes to blow it up. I like putting it on like a 18 by 24 sheet of paper. I've got a clipboard that is large enough to hold that drawing. And so when I go there and I meet with the Smiths, I'm going to get there about 15 minutes early. So if I'm meeting them at 5:30 on a Thursday evening, I'm going to get there about 5:15, and I'm going to tell them this. I'm going to say, Ms. Smith, I want to make sure that I can walk around the property before I ring the doorbell. I'm actually taking notes on this plan. I'm walking around. I'm doing my site inventory. I'm doing my site analysis, and I'm doing it with, one of these pens that's got multicolors in it, or I've got, 3 or 4 colored pencils in my back pocket. And then I'm going to ring the doorbell, and I'm going to sit down with it. What am I showing Ms. Smith immediately when I present her with this drawing and she's looking at it? We're sitting at the kitchen table. What am I showing to her and him what I've done for their property?
That you're interested in them enough to pre-educate yourself.
Exactly. And it wins 9 times out of 10. Now, this is something that they're not going to keep. This is mine. Now, but prior to doing this, I want to find out, and like I said, I can pre-qualify them pretty quick by just talking to them, what it is that they're interested in. And if they're wanting to talk about, some of the shrubs that grandma gave them years ago and stuff like that, I'm like, this sounds more like a consultation. Should we charge for a consultation, or should we give them maybe an hour or so of our time? What's y'all's opinion on that?
We charge. We charge no matter what. Yes,
we can't do anything for free. And there are so many people out there that expect the free design. They expect the free consultation. They're walking around with you in the yard and they're writing down everything that you're saying. You know, they're grabbing your information that they expect for free. That's not a good thing. You got to let them know, hey, there's the difference. We will give you a free estimate if there's a landscape design already drawn, if you have a architect that's done it, or if you want us to do the design. We can do the design, but you're going to pay for it. You're going to pay for it. Once we have that design, we can give that free quote. So this is basically what this is in a nutshell: visiting the property, studying it, and actually, you know, meeting with the customer. And at the very end, we're actually going to see a new construction home. It's not one of my favorite landscapes. It's not one of my favorite landscape designs, but this is an opportunity for us to basically do a walk around site visit with a bunch of pictures that I've taken of this home. And we're just going to talk about the good things and the bad things with that property and what we can do to help the homeowners enhance the landscape and even enhance the structure itself. Because as a designer, as a landscaper, you know, we're doing stuff like pergolas and decks and things of that nature. We can really make an outside area pop for them. So we'll look at our objectives. Do what? Did somebody say something? Sorry. I talk too fast and I talk too loud. So stop me if I get carried away, guys. We're going to distinguish the significance of the property in relationship to the development of a landscape. We're going to discuss the typical features that must be evaluated on most properties, and we'll evaluate the sources of property information that is available to us. And then last but not least, explain the use of geographic information systems and the GPS system. Can y'all see those objectives? Am I sharing the screen? Can y'all see that? Okay.
Yes.
Yep. Good deal. We'll also identify some limitations that the terrain imposes upon human activities. We'll understand the basic concepts of land grading, describe how to conduct a residential property analysis, describe how to prepare the base map, which is the actual drawing that I'm taking, that 18 by 24, to the site visit. We'll explain the difference between inventory and analysis, identify the typical sources used to gather this information, and then explain why information on each of the following might be gathered about a property. The location for one, the topography, the drainage. Landscapers are always blamed for drainage. I don't care if the builder, you know, puts the house 2 feet below grade or, you know, it's sunk into the house. It's going to be our fault no matter what. The soil, vegetation that's there, the microclimate, which is a bad and good thing. You know, Miss Smith's wanting to know why her shrub is not blooming like the one down the street. Usually it's because of the microclimate that it's in.
I was planning an ambush. I do it here. Plenty of cover, good sight lines. Stick to the thing.
Who's that talking? Nobody. Everybody got quiet when that was said. All right, but we'll also talk about the house itself. We'll talk about the other structures, the utilities, and the senses and existing functions of a house. We'll look at supplementary digital tools that are used in preparing a property analysis and define what a design program is and why it is prepared. And then outline the information typically included in a design program. And then we will do that house site visit via pictures in the inventory and analysis activity. And we will actually, well, we're not going to, if we were in the face-to-face class, yes, we would draw the site plan from a survey. We would blow it up to the 18 by 24, would take that, usually surveys, if they're from a licensed professional surveyor, it's going to be on a legal sheet of paper. It's always a legal document because it's always included in the closing documents and stuff. Well, it was back in the 90s. But they still do them on the legal sheets of paper, and we take that information and we blow it up to the 18 by 36, 18 by 24, sorry, what they call, or either a tabloid sheet of paper so we can walk around and make our notes on it. We'll look at the photographs of the home And then we would graphically do our own site inventory and analysis of the slides. And then we will present our IA to our peers. And basically, we're just going to discuss what we see wrong with this house, what we can do to make it right, and what the builder shouldn't have done. But we got to take into consideration that this was a custom build home. And this is the actual property. Now, the drawing on the left is done by the surveyor. And one of the bad things, which I don't like, but I understand why they do it, they're engineers. Surveyors have that engineering background. Coming from a landscape architecture background, we do everything, feet and inches. Engineers are going to do it in decimal format. So, we got 172.67 feet right here, property line. We got to, make that to what we need it to be. I blew it up over here. I wasn't worried about 0.67, but I actually took this and just blew it up large enough on the 18 by 24 so I could walk around and do our site inventory and analysis. And we don't need all the mumble jumble stuff. We do need to know, our line descriptions. We need to know the length of, the garage, the back of the house, the deck, the front porch. We need to have all that on there. We don't need to know any of this stuff here. We do need to know that there is an easement that goes through here. This is a drainage easement because there is a pond behind this house. And so, right off the bat, we should automatically think, hey, we need to enhance views from the back of the house because of this natural pond back here. And then this easement gives them, a pretty good distance, in between the next house, because this is in a neighborhood where they are kind of on top of each other. So it was a real good choice of lot for the client. And so understanding the property begins with taking the inventory of the property's natural features, man-made features, and cultural features. In these neighborhoods, we have a mixture of clientele. We have people that are moved into the United States. We've had people that have moved, from larger cities into smaller communities and vice versa. So cultural needs is something that we really need to take an interest in with our clients. And the only way, what is really the true only way we can figure out their culture? You got to get to know the client. You got to know them on a personal level. Mr. Linder, how are you, sir?
Good, thank you.
You were in my class Saturday, right?
I can't remember. I've taken so many classes here recently.
Did you come to Kannapolis?
Oh, no, I did not go to an in-person class.
Oh, okay. Got you. I could have swore I thought that was you, Denver. Sorry, man. You're the guy that sits at the beach all the time on the back deck, right?
I wish.
No, okay. But anyway, welcome. But we got to get to know our customer on that personal level, and we've got to talk to them. And that's why I like sending out that survey right off the bat. We can get them to answer these questions, and we can get a feel for our client and know what else is going on. Something that I'm seeing a lot of, I'm actually seeing multiple generations in a house. And why is that a concern for a landscape contractor or landscape designer? Why can this
safety?
Safety's for one.
Safety.
Yeah. But what else? How can it give us an opportunity?
Different taste.
Yeah. And look at pedestrian circulation, vehicular circulation, because what we're seeing, we've got, people that are, mid 50s, they've got their parents where they've had to move them into their home. Well, grandma can still drive, but grandpa can't. So she's brought her car. They've got the kids that will never leave the house, the basement dwellers, who may or may not work, but they've got a vehicle. We've also seen it where the basement dweller that never leaves home has also got a child of their own that they may have, periodically here and there. So we're seeing 4 generations. This gives us an opportunity for not only extra parking spaces, widening the driveway with pavers, the dad wanting an outdoor kitchen or an outdoor entertainment center because he's coming home from work and he needs his space. We've got the mother who's needing an outside garden area. So it presents an opportunity for us to do a lot of extra work for our customers. And those can be considered some cultural issues, going on with the house. Nothing wrong with it. We're supposed to take care of family, but it does give us an opportunity to do some extra work for them. There are GPS and GIS systems that can be used to collect important information for property and analysis. And I'm looking to see if I've got mine right here. Mosure, I think, is probably one of the best tools invented for us. It looks like a digital tape measure, but it will draw out your property. You can go around the house touching it, and it'll draw the outline of the house. If you can find the four corners, it'll draw your survey for you. A real good system. Puts it on your phone. You can email it to yourself in a PDF or a DWG drawing. So great piece of equipment that's out there for us. And once we gather this information and the analysis is done, we can then, create that base map that we need to do our field notes on. So properties, they're going to be in all sizes and shapes. And I promise you, my favorite property is the smallest one that we can find. These backyard, courtyard gardens, these little small, intense spaces, we can do a lot, and we can make them really useful and beautiful for our clients. To me, they're just fun to work on. They can be used for, a variety of purposes. And then there are the property differences, again, whether they're cultural, physical, or natural, and then whether, they are, above ground, below ground, whether we're building that deck, or we're building that sunk in patio, or anything of that nature. And then each property tends to have its own personality. And once you get to know the client and you get to know the actual property, you're going to start seeing, wow, they start to reflect on each other. The property really does match the owners. So it's a cool thing once you can start realizing that. We need to take inventory of the property. First and foremost, some good people to give us this information is the property owners themselves. They are a good source. They're going to tell you what they think's good about the property. They're going to tell you what they think is bad. And one of my favorite things to point out to some of these people is the views of the properties. They may not realize that they have an awesome view of downtown Charlotte, or that they have an awesome view of, the mountains off in the distance. All they've got to do is remove some old scraggly Leland cypress that they've used for screening years ago, or that the previous owners used. Help them realize what views they may or may not have. And again, we need to be making this first site visit without the owner or the client walking around with us. We don't need to hear these opinions as we're trying to get a feel for the property. And really, all we need is about 15 minutes. If we're meeting them at 5:30, show up at 5:15, let them know that that's what you're doing. Get this information and get it on paper before you sit down and talk with them. Now, people think I'm crazy putting 30 minutes into a project before we've gotten one dime or a chance of not getting paid for anything. Guys, that's not the way I see it. If I'm putting this much effort into it and I'm letting them know that we charge for our consultation and that we charge for our design work, we're going to get the job. Trust me, every time we sit down at the kitchen table and we've got this information and we hear what they have to say, we've read the survey that we've sent to them, and now we're going over what we think are some good and bad things with their property. We're helping them solve their problem, and they're going to want to go with it. Now, how many of you guys are actively drawing landscape designs for your customers? Like, that is a service you offer in-house, or do you sub it out, or are you actually doing it, sir?
Sub it out.
Oh,
No, we're doing it.
You're actually doing it.
Yeah.
Good deal. I love drawing. Don't get me wrong. I've actually gotten to the point where I don't have the time to do as much as I would love to do. And so I think for us at a point where we're at with our company, it's better for us to sub that out. And we kind of control the design work. So we'll sub it out to the landscape architect and we collect the fees for it and we pay the landscape architect. But it's good for them to actually come in and meet with the client. They're getting an unbiased opinion after they've gotten hours and they're getting paid, and we can actually give them that free quote once we have those set of drawings in hand. And if we're doing the build for them, if they go ahead and sign a contract, we're going to credit them back on the design fees. Now, we're not technically, losing that money. We're actually covering it in the build cost, but it makes the customer feel like they've got something for actually hiring us to do the build. Again, the natural features, the plant materials, the topo, the turf grass, all of that is what we consider the natural features. The man-made features would be your driveways, your pergolas, the steps, the deck, anything that is built. And then the cultural features, like I said, the multiple generations in one house, or people moving in new to the country or from a different part of the United States, they're all going to have different things. People moving in from California, they're not used to having so much turf grass as we do here in North Carolina. So they may be more into the xeriscape gardening. All of that would be considered cultural features. And like I said, the only way to understand that is to get to know the client on a personal level. With your property features, the GIS systems, the geodatas that are out there, if we needed to get that survey, they can come from multiple sources. Google Earth probably being the most used and simplest to use. There is your municipality's GIS websites. A little harder to navigate, but still a great place to actually print out pictures, print out a drawing of the house, and some of them will actually have these surveys. I haven't seen any that has topo on it, but if in all actuality, you could probably drive down to your city planning office and get a copy of the topo and the actual line drawing of the house. We used to do that way back in the days. And last but not least, but also a good way to do it, is to actually go to the site and actually draw it out. If you had one of these tools called Mosure, or if you had the, what is the other one? Got it here on my phone because the apps are on the phone. But you've got Mosure, and then you've got, where is Plot, Plott, which is a digital measuring wheel, which works well. I like using that more so for, pricing a mulch job, or actually, pricing out a lawn care app if we actually went and measured it out that way. But a lot of digital tools out there to help us get this information that we need. And then there are features that do require expertise, and these are done by other design professionals that may need to be brought in to do this. If you can't find the topo and you need the topo on the map, then the LA would be good for that, or actually a surveyor. Surveyors can do it. They just don't like to do it. Let's see. All right. I was just making sure that was somebody not trying to get into the class. All right. So
you see the pictures I sent you, Eric?
Oh, that was you. Okay.
Yeah,
man.
Yeah.
Good deal. And
can you believe that?
Yeah, you took up all the landscaping and poured it in concrete.
No, I didn't do that. The people called me and asked me if I would give them a price on removing the concrete and putting in the landscaping. And I had a gave them a price, but can you believe someone would take out the plantings and pour concrete everywhere there were beds?
So did they just recently buy this house?
Yes.
Okay.
So that called me had just recently bought it. And I asked them, I said, you know, the previous owners, were they Asian? Because I couldn't imagine anyone else doing that.
Well, I don't.
And sure enough, they were.
You know what I'm thinking? It was probably a school teacher, you know, because you walk into a school, you know, and they got no landscaping. It's all concrete right up to the front door.
I mean, they poured concrete between the sidewalk and the house.
Yeah. Or they could have been a skateboarder.
Yeah, evidently. Okay. But everywhere there was a bed, even the corner between the driveway and the sidewalk, they poured concrete.
Yep.
They could have just planted grass.
They could have, yeah.
You know,
yeah.
Been a lot cheaper.
They wanted, you talking about zero maintenance, man. That is zero maintenance.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a nice, I mean, it's a beautiful home.
Would you love to be their neighbor, though? I mean, I couldn't stand it.
Yeah, especially the one across the street looking out at it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but
not good.
Use that in one of your classes. The crazy stuff I see.
Oh, dude, yeah. Nothing surprises us anymore.
No.
Like, I mean, it's.
All you can do is laugh and shake your head.
Yep. Yep. Oh, my goodness.
That was crazy.
All right. Quality Yard, can you hear us? You're on, right? Just want to make sure you can hear us. All right, man. Good deal.
Yep.
All right. This slide is actually a repeat. Sorry about that. Same information. But GIS, again, we're not going to do this for a residential property. It's just too much. But ArcView GIS is great if you're in, commercial landscape architecture, land use planning. You have all these layers that you stack upon each other, and it presents the perfect spot to put your townhomes or your shopping center or whatever. All this information is gathered and put into it. So I don't really see you using it for residential unless you had access to it and, didn't have to pay for it, because it can be an expensive software program. But what you can get from it is the topography, the physical resources. If there's any aquifers or any regulated areas, all of that is going to be in the GIS systems. And then with the GPS, guys, with our cell phones and some of these, digital tools that we have, we are now considered experts because we can draw these site plans really, really quick. With our property terrain, it is the rise and fall of the land. As it describes, the terrain is recorded as topography. And once the contours are known and plotted, the slopes can be measured and analyzed. And we need to be able to read these topo maps. And so down at the bottom, we have our plan view. As you can see, it is a hill. It is a hill that we're going up over here. Very, very steep. But contour lines are usually, in 2-foot intervals. And so we're starting over here at 2 feet. And as we go right to left, climbing up the hill, we're going up to 4 feet, 6 feet, 8 feet, 10 feet. And then we've got this little plateau on the top, flat part. And then as we're up on top of this flat knoll, which is right here, you can almost jump off if there was a pond down there. But very, very steep as it drops off. And you can see a gradual increase and then a steep drop off. But we need to learn how to read these topos. And in plan view, the dashed lines are representing what's there, the exact contours. If we actually see solid lines like this, when we start doing this, the dotted line, the dashed lines are actually representing what our proposed grade is. So anytime you see a solid line, that is proposed grade. And if you're a grading contractor, you're a landscaper doing the grading, you're actually going to have to build these contours based on these lines. So, Learn how to read that and actually calculate your cut and fill on these projects. But the terrain, it's needed for, whether or not, the ease or difficulty of development. We would definitely not want to put a house, right over here. We would hope our clients aren't building something like that. But to actually come in and, do a house with a basement right there, that's okay. But we can decide how we can do that based on this stuff right here. Impossible to do it here, but very possible to make it work here. Is it level? Is it rolling? Is it rocky or sandy? Is it forested or open? A lot of this we're not going to be able to tell until we get there. Even Google Earth pictures are so old that you don't see the new vegetation that's been planted, or when the developer clears the lot completely and actually, cuts down all your trees. We're not going to know what was planted back on Google Earth until we actually do the site visit. So they only go and do those pictures every so many years. And land that is less than 5% or less in slope is perceived by users as flat. The visual eye will make it look flat. And so what is the minimum distance for pavement away from a building? We see that patio right there. What's the slope? What's the slope percent minimum there that they want us to have if it's pavement? 1%. If it's turf grass, what does the slope need to be minimum? Which I think is too low anyway. I think 1% slow for concrete. But turf grass, mulched areas, it's got to be a minimum 2% slope away from the house. I still think that is way low, just because landscapers are always going to be blamed for water problems in the crawl space or basement. Grading. It is the form of land when the land is changed. We create level spaces. We introduce special effects or improved conditions, and we can improve the rate and pattern of circulation by just changing the topo. Berms are built to actually screen, raise that plant material up and plant your berm. Gives good coverage. It's good for sound barriers, up against highways. We can do a lot when we move earth and make our customers very, very happy. Grading practices, the removing of earth, the definition is removing of earth from a slope, is your cut, and then filling is the practice of adding earth, and soil that is removed from a cut should always be used to create fill whenever possible. You want to keep that dirt on site. Now, a lot of these commercial projects that we're seeing, they're asking the grading contractor to either, remove the topsoil and stockpile it in another location, or stockpile it on the same location, depending on, how big the property is. Are these grading contractors doing that? What are they doing with the topsoil when they dig it off? Most of them are selling it for cash money. Selling it, right? They're getting beer money for the weekend. And when it comes time for us to do our job, what happens when we go to do these jobs and we got the landscape architect coming out and they're like, where's your topsoil?
We got to replace it.
We got to replace it. It's technically our responsibility. So we've got to know that grading contractor well. We need to buy that guy some donuts and a cup of coffee one morning and make sure he's doing what he's supposed to do, because we don't want to lose that topsoil, or we may actually have to assist him with it. Hey, if you guys are digging up, if you stockpile on site, we'll haul it off and bring it back in. Don't get caught without your topsoil. Now we can actually talk about doing a property analysis. It includes walking the site, and it includes inventorying the features. And so let's think about inventory and analysis. Inventory is what's there. It's factual. We're making a statement. It's there. Analysis is our expertise, our our license, our landscape contracting knowledge. We should do this with this inventory. And so let's look at this picture. It's not the house that we're going to look at the end with the IA activity, but this is a typical house. And it's on one of those slopes, right? We got a nice little slope going on here. At the garage up front, bonus room above it. We're walking down the hill. What are some good and bad things that you see with this house?
Too much slope.
Too much slope. Yep. But land is getting expensive, ain't it?
And it's going towards the house.
It is kind of flowing back that way, ain't it?
That's where the water is going to flow.
Yep. That little corner right there.
Yeah.
Good point. What about this mess right here? Why did the builder do that?
Is that a door?
It is a walkout door. It is a French door. There's nothing.
That's a hell of a step coming out.
And there's nothing to step on. Nothing. Like,
that's crazy.
How did that get a certificate of occupancy? You know, you got to have something for your homeowners to step out on. When you open the door, I mean, that does you nothing.
Unless the door is sealed.
Unless it is sealed, yeah. But why not just put a window?
Yep. I agree.
You know, go to that expense. French door is expensive. But maybe it was cheaper doing that than brick. Maybe they just wanted a lot of daylight. Could have been. What about these river birch?
I hate them. I hate them. They're too close to the house.
Yep. And roots are going to get all under there. We're going to get some
gutters on the corners.
We got look like gutters there.
Downspouts.
Where are they depositing water at?
Good point. Yeah. You'd hope they're piped off.
Mm-hmm.
They're coming this way.
Need to be building walls and terraces.
Yes.
And patios.
Perfect opportunity.
Great opportunity. Great opportunity. Love it.
And so when we sat down and look what we're doing right here with these markers, like we're doing that site inventory and analysis. When we sat down with them, we're kind of explaining what's going on. Miss Smith.
That's a perfect spot to do a dry creek bed coming down and a bridge going over it.
Yep.
And carry all that water above ground instead of in drains.
Exactly. Because drains are going to get clogged.
That's what I do.
Yep. I want to see my water coming out of the end of that downspout. Like you said,
that'd be fun to watch in a hard rain if you had a dry creek bed.
Yes,
you know, with natural river rock and boulders and to step it down. That'd be really cool.
And that's money in the bank, ain't it?
Oh yeah, that's fun.
Yep. And people love that. And just like you said, there, James, you're giving your expertise, advice to the homeowner. And when they see these sketches like this, they're like, I never thought of that.
And they've already got some stone right there. You can use some of that stone. They love that.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. So now we're thinking that inventory and analysis. And that helps us build on our design program, which we can sell. And so use a checklist. Make sure that nothing is overlooked. You've looked at grading. You've looked at windows. You've looked at the height of windows. You've checked out their existing vegetation. You've looked at their existing sidewalks. You've looked at their driveway. You've got this checklist that you can check the box when you're walking around. It ensures that you have a consistent assembly of the site data every time. And it also allows you to have other designers working underneath you actually go and help do some of these site visits. You may have a great salesperson that's just good with people, and you just need to kind of do a little bit of coaching for them, and they can start doing some of these site visits and initial consultations for you. And that's how we as landscapers can spread our actual license over multiple people and do multiple projects. I've always tell people, I know, this is funny, I know as many rich landscapers as I do rich doctors. And why is that?
Because they're working for the doctors.
They are working for the doctors, but guess what? That doctor, he has to be the one, or she has to be the one to do the surgery. We can actually have staff that can go and do some of these bigger projects for us. We can spread our professional license out over multiple people. Now, doctors, yeah, they have physician's assistants, and that's, kind of a new thing that helps them do stuff, but the doctor still has to do the major doctoring stuff, whereas we can hire it done and people work under our license. Plan view drawing, sir.
I had a guy to tell me the other day that I charged more than his doctor did.
What was your copay, Tim?
I'm thinking, well, I've got more expense than your doctor does. I got to have a truck to get me out here on the job.
Yep.
So anyway, I don't know what doctor he goes to, but I don't charge that much. I don't think $100 an hour is too much for my time.
It's not. And when you really look at it, for what we're having to pay help now anyway, I mean, somebody green off the street, wants $20 an hour easily.
Oh yeah.
So, and then you've got that $20 an hour man that's going to cost you 30 or 35 with taxes and insurance and everything. The vehicle that he's in, the equipment that he's pulling in that truck, $100 is reasonable, very reasonable. And people don't get it. I don't get it. It blows my mind on what people think they should actually pay us, but yet they'll pay an electrician $200 to come flip a breaker.
Right.
They're 5 minutes
or
and all
plumber to reset a reset button on your hot water heater.
Yep. And they walk in with a tool bag. Yeah. And they've got a service van outside with a few parts on it.
A lot of times they don't have a choice.
They don't have a choice because they don't know how to do it, do they?
Well, it has to be done, but to code.
Yep. But, one of my best friends is an electrician. He said, Eric, multiple times a day, I charge $200 to flip a breaker. He said, that's our number one service call. It's a breaker, and these people cannot figure it out. And they'll pay him $200 to flip that breaker, but they complain about paying us $50 to cut the grass. Mm-hmm. They're scared of that electricity. It's the fear, I guess. And then anytime you're dealing with gas, hot water heaters and stuff, but these guys set their pricing years ago. They've been licensed since the 50s and the 60s. We're on year 7, year 6, something like that. We finally come together as a professional license, when these guys have had it since the 1950s. They can charge what they want. And the sad thing about electrical contractors, how many of us see a new landscaper every single day? Every time we go down the road, there's a new truck, new trailer, new company. Man, it's so easy to get in this business. Right. Electrical contractors are in a major hurting for licensed professionals. The average age of the electrician is 56. There are more licensed electricians over the age 80 than there are under 30. So what's getting ready to happen in 5 to 6 years? Zilch.
It's hard to find one.
Yes.
I use them for putting in receptacles, ground fault receptacles for landscape lighting. Once in a while, a sump pump, irrigation systems, if I need a receptacle somewhere there's not, I have to have a licensed electrician to do it.
Yep.
And I've been scrambling here recently because my regular guy has got more than he can do, and he just can't keep on promising more out.
Exactly.
And, so I've been scrambling trying to find somebody. I think I finally found somebody, but it's not easy.
It's not easy, and we're paying a premium for that service.
Yep.
And our homeowners look at us like we're crazy. You're charging that much for a landscape job?
Pass it on to the customer.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Oh, yeah. Well, we get to this plan view drawing. We got to put in our existing buildings. We got to put in the windows. We got to put in the doors, any other significant features that are on that property. Existing hardscapes, which can sometimes be horrible. All existing plant material. whether they're good or bad. If they're bad, it's still part of our inventory. Our analysis is we need to remove the bad plant material. And then any other physical items that we are seeing on the property.
Wells, septic tank.
Wells, where the gas meter goes into the house, where everything goes into the house. And it's also good if you're meeting them on Thursday afternoon at 5:30 and you've talked to them on a Monday, you probably want to call ULOCO and get them to come under, spray the property so you'll know where all these lines are when it comes time to know where, well, Miss Smith, we can't put a garden out here, because, you're going to have to move your cable and TV lines. It's, because, those are only 2 inches deep.
Yep.
So we can see all of that when we do that first initial site visit. And so when we're drawing the base plan, we're going to plot out our locations. This is going to include setbacks, any easements that may be on the property, the underground utility lines, and overhead wires if we're in some of these older neighborhoods where they still have the overhead wires. All new neighborhoods, everything is underground with our power companies. Inventory, the source of information. Again, I'm going to stress the local community offices, online services, the clients themselves, and your on-site observation. We're going to identify the land use and the condition, the neighborhood's character, the nature of the vehicular circulation, and any legal restrictions that there may be in the neighborhood. We've been in neighborhoods where they can't have trucks parked outside overnight. They've got to be in the garage. You can't have any overnight street parking. Well, I love hearing that because we can actually add on to their driveway with brick pavers or concrete pavers. The neighborhood's character. They may only be able to use certain color garage doors or shutters. They may only be able to use one color roof. All of this ties into our landscape design, believe it or not, based on the color of our plant materials, the choices that we're using for pavers. If they can only have a black roof and we're building a gazebo out back, we've got to use black roofing for it to match the neighborhood's HOA restrictions. And then always note the vehicular circulation. How do cars come into the neighborhood and how do they leave? Are there sidewalks in the neighborhood? It really is a pet peeve of mine when a developer builds a new, nice neighborhood and there's no sidewalks, or there's only sidewalks on one side of the street. I feel like that needs to be a part of every community because it creates people getting outside. It creates the opportunity to meet your neighbors. That's the only way we're going to do it. If there's no pedestrian circulation, we're not going to know thy neighbors. With the topo, know that degree of steepness, the areas of erosion, the grade changes between inside and outside, the ease of walking on various areas of the site, and then any elevation changes between the top and bottom of the existing steps, walls, fences, etc. And good old topo map looks like one we did in the military.
Okay, shut up.
And identify drainage issues. What's going on here? This is the landscaper's fault. That rainwater can't get out of the backyard. Now, is this inventory or is this analysis?
Analysis.
A little of both.
I see it more as an inventory. It is a severe drainage problem. Our analysis would be, how do we fix it? And where is it coming from? Why is it happening? And what can we do to fix it? So the inventory is the water itself, the wet spot, the lake, and then the analysis is how we are going to improve that drainage. The soil. We need to know the characteristics, the pH, the texture, the organic matter content. So keep some soil sample kits or the bags in the back of your truck. If we're doing a big landscape job, we need to do a soil test. Soil tests help us sell our soil amendments. It's going to explain to them why on their estimate, there's peat moss, cow manure, soil conditioner, all of these amendments that we're adding to it. The soil test sells itself. We need to know the depth of the topsoil and the depth of the soil to the bedrock. Only way we're going to do this is on site, going out there and taking the samples. Know your plant. Guys, I see it on social media every single day. Landscapers, not necessarily landscape contractors, but landscapers that do not know their plant material. They're talking about pruning this shrub with their hedge clippers, and they're misidentifying it. Do you know how embarrassing it would be if Miss Smith called you out on that and said, that's not a boxwood. That is a Japanese holly, my friend. And I see it every single day. Know your plant material. And when you know them, you're going to know how big they're supposed to be. You're going to know the size that they need to be. And then know your diameter of your tree trunks. Know the spread of the trees. Know how to measure that. And then measure the total height of the canopy to the bottom of the canopy and the height of the tree. These are notes that you're putting on that site inventory and analysis plan. With your microclimate, for one, locate them. Know the direction of the sun at sunrise and sunset and at various times of the year. Why does it matter various times of the year? Why do we need to know the sun pattern?
Growing season, as well as how many hours of direct sunlight a plant or grass can get.
Yep. And so when Miss Smith, hey, why is my shrub not blooming? The Joneses up the street's got one just like it, and theirs is always blooming. It just looks beautiful every time I pull in the neighborhood. You're looking at it. It's not getting enough sun, or it's getting too much sun. These microclimates will cause these plants to do it. And it's something as simple as charging her to dig it up and move it to where it needs to be will make her the happiest customer that you've got. Now, also, we've got daylight. It's still daylight and it's 8 o'clock outside, and I love it. I love that. Are our shadows longer in the summer or winter?
Winter.
In the winter. Why is that, Chris?
The sun is low.
The sun's lower in the sky, so it shines on us and it makes us look taller than we are, right?
This is important what you're talking about here.
Yep. And that with our shrubs and with the shadows of the house, all of those make the house shadow in the winter bigger. Well, there are certain plants that need, like you said, minimum so many hours of sunlight a day. Same thing with mums. Mums need minimum 8 hours of darkness a night. And we see people planting them out in commercial properties underneath landscape lights and underneath street lights. And they're blooming that one time and they're done. They're not getting those, 2 or 3 weeks out of them. They're getting 2 or 3 days out of them.
Take care.
We need to know the areas exposed to the sun or shade, the prevailing wind direction, and then the depth of our winter frost. And we actually had a little bit of snow this year, so it was kind of good. But with the house, we need to know the house type, the architectural style, the color and texture of the facade materials, and the location of windows and doors. And the interior room type and location for outside views. And so, yes, when you're sitting at the kitchen table, you need to say, Miss Smith, can I look out your dining room table? Can I look out your living room window? I need to see the views that you're going to have. I need to look out your kitchen window. I want to see what it is when you're doing the dishes. What are you looking at? These are great opportunities to create focal points and points of interest for your customer. And again, it's always an upsell because you can sell that Japanese maple with landscape lighting on it right outside the dining room table window. With the home, guys, I'm okay to keep going. Y'all just want to keep talking? That might get us done a few minutes earlier. Do y'all need a 10-minute break?
Keep going.
Keep going.
Keep going.
Keep on going.
Keep trucking.
Keep going. Go ahead on.
Nobody needs another beer, another glass of wine. Tim's not drinking wine tonight.
That's outlawed, right?
Yeah, I am. I need some more too, so I'll be right back.
Now, what's Grant drinking? Is that a glass of water?
Just water.
Just water.
Yep.
This is your last class, ain't it, Grant?
It is.
How many of y'all got to get more hours? Or is this one?
One.
Need 2.
1 hour.
2 more.
This is my last one.
That's your last one, Tracy? You've
Me.
been with me. Huh?
I'll see you again.
You'll see me again?
I hope so.
My last one.
Yeah, I've got to get a couple of business hours.
I got them online.
Yeah.
You can take it. Yeah, it's your convenience. You can knock them out at 2:00 in the morning if you want.
Yeah, that's what I got to do, man.
I finally renewed my license yesterday. I finally got all my credits. And it was hard finding them this year.
Well, I miss going to classes, but I don't have time.
Yeah.
That's it.
So,
Yep.
Raleigh class filled up quick.
oh yeah, man, that was you talking about mine?
Yeah.
Yeah, the 2 back-to-back, like Wednesday and Thursday next week, man. That's like I advertised it, and it was, but it was the same way last year, man. And there's people calling me every day mad that it's sold out. I'm like, I'm sorry, there ain't but so many seats in a room. And but again, procrastination, right?
Those procrastinators.
Eric,
Yeah, man.
when are you going to have some more irrigation classes?
We'll start them up as soon as the landscape rush is over. So August.
Okay.
All right. We'll jump back.
I appreciate what y'all doing, man. It's helped me out a lot because I don't have time to go and sit all day.
Yeah, I know, man. It is. It's and we get in this business because we love it. We want to be out. We want to be out there on the job sites anyway, man. That's why I was so miserable this morning sitting here doing invoices and estimates, and I despise doing invoices. And that should be something we like doing, right? Because we get the money coming in. But just to sit down and do that thing.
That's the most important part.
It's the most important part. Maybe that's why I dislike it. But you know what? As soon as you send that invoice via email, customers start calling. You ain't heard from them in a month.
Hello?
And when you send that monthly invoice, they're like, well, when are you going to do this?
Call you back. Okay.
When are you coming back? It's crazy.
I'll call you back. Bye.
All right. With the basement, I mean, the windows, we'll locate the basement windows, the outside elements, downspouts, your electrical outlets, your gas meters, your overhangs, the height, the distance beyond the face of the house. And a lot of these new houses don't even have fascias. Like the roof stops right at the exterior wall. There is no overhang. Well, overhangs can be a good thing, and they can also be a bad thing because they can prevent rainwater from actually hitting some of these if the overhang is big and it's a smaller plant. I've actually seen where we've had sufficient amount of rainfall and plants still died because lack of water, no rain hitting it. Structures, we need to locate the walks, terraces, steps, the walls and fences, the swimming pools, and any other structures that are out there. Utilities, utility lines, your water, gas, electric, phone, cable, storm sewer, septic tank, your leach field, the air conditioner or heat pump, including intakes and exhaust, pool equipment and utility connections, and any irrigation equipment that's there. And I love it when the irrigation controller's outside. That gives us access to it when we're on site working, you know, whether it's a maintenance contract or a fertility customer. We need to be the ones in control of the irrigation equipment, not the irrigation contractor. I think the maintenance personnel need to have control of it. They need to know enough about how to set it. They need to know how much water the shrubs need, how much the turf grass needs. And I just like having that full control, because even though we're irrigation contractors ourselves, you know, customers may not hire us to do the irrigation system, but if we're doing their maintenance, I want to make sure, or if they hire us later, I want to have control of that irrigation system. And if it's inside the garage, it makes it very difficult. The views, inside, outside, all sides, we need to know the good and the bad views. Views looking onto the property itself. And then what are the best and worst views of the site? And let's say we're looking out Miss Smith's dining room window, or better yet, maybe a den or an office, and they're looking out there and they're seeing the Joneses camper parked in the driveway. Is that an inventory or is that an analysis?
Analysis.
Why is that?
It's not part of their property. It's just something you have to deal with.
It is. It is something that we got to deal with. But what can we do for that view?
Block it.
We can block it. And so really the view itself is the inventory. Our analysis would be block it with some Foster hollies or whatever, or build a fence. We would want to screen it for them.
Okay.
Or enhance it.
Or enhance it. Yes. What if they had one of the largest ginkgo trees.
Yep.
You'd want to enhance that view, that golden leaf color that falls. And like I said, also like views to the mountains or views to the city. I'm a country boy at heart, but I love a downtown view. And if I had opportunity to sit on the deck or to look out a back window and actually see the skyline of Winston-Salem, I would love that. Looks awesome. With your spaces and the senses, you need to locate the extent of these existing outdoor rooms, the feeling and character of the outdoor rooms, and whether there's any pleasant or disturbing sounds. Some people don't like the sound of the city. I love hearing birds sing. I love hearing the frogs, but there are times that, when we're visiting places or we're downtown Asheville, I love hearing life going on, which means pedestrian traffic, vehicular traffic. I love being around people and hearing that. But we may have situations where the customer cannot stand hearing road traffic. We can screen that out with plant material. We can screen that out by, putting in a waterfall feature or some type of water feature that's making that rippling sound. There's fragrances and odors that come with particular plants. They may not want to deal with that. And unfortunately, that ginkgo tree that I love so much, if it's a female, what's going to come along with the female ginkgo tree?
Stinks.
It stinks to high heaven, don't it? Run over it with the mower, and it's even worse. With any of the functions and problems that we have, we got to locate them. How and when different areas are used, the locations for arrival, departure, outside recreation, gardening, and work areas. During COVID, gardening became one of the most growing hobbies of homeowners. They couldn't do anything else, so they turned to the outside. And they also hired us to do more outdoor kitchens and outdoor rooms. But gardening became real popular during COVID. And it's even becoming more popular today with the scare of people not being able to find groceries, and the big scare of, afraid that we're going to go to the grocery store one day and there's not going to be any vegetables to pick. People are getting into this home gardening thing. Site maintenance problems, issues with, grass going up against the house, eliminate it. There's numerous maintenance problems that we see as a landscape contractor that the homeowners will not see. And usually we don't have to worry about, snow drifts or storage of snow, but yes, further north, they're having to deal with that. But luckily we got to push a little bit of snow this year. And the bad thing is I got a bad taste, and I hope we don't get any more snow.
I hope we get a lot.
You push a lot. That's where you got all them big spaces, don't you?
We do a lot of snow.
Yeah.
Good money when you need it. Cash flow.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. But it used to snow a whole lot more in this area than it did. And the bad thing about it was that's when my kids were little and they loved playing in it. And, by the time we got home pushing snow 3 or 4 days straight, it was all mush and nasty, and I never got to, play with them in it. Now I'm like, I don't know. When there's grandkids around, I want to make sure I'm around for that at least.
Oh, yeah.
But here's some I&A examples. Inventory. We have a 3-foot sidewalk, cheap builder put in a 3-foot walk. Our analysis, too narrow. widen it to 5 feet and change the paving material to something warmer. Maybe going back with brick pavers or concrete pavers. Open view to a wooded site, inventory. Frame the view on either side of it. Inventory, large ginkgo in good condition. Analysis should be preserved. Consider a remote sitting area underneath it. So inventory is fact. It's everything that's there. The analysis is what we're going to do with it. All right. So here is our I&A activity. You are hired as the landscape contractor. This house was just purchased by the homeowners. They just did get their certificate of occupancy. And the one thing that they're waiting on is porch post. They got that roof over the porch still stacked with 2x4s, but that was there so they could get the CO, and power is on to the house. They ran out of money in the building contract, and now the customer has just got word that they've got a bonus coming from work. And so they wanted to put that bonus money into their landscape, and they've hired you.
How much is it?
Let's say they've got 15,000, 20,000. But we're going to do that I&A activity first. Right off the bat, what's good and bad about this house? And I'll tell you, I can't stand this builder.
It's too flat.
It's too flat. What do you mean flat? Like on the front? Like it's just like a wall?
Yeah, it's just flat. The
Small
yards.
Now, granted, this is a Frank Best architect home. Frank Best, one of the most popular architects, for custom home designs. I was the builder. I'm not gonna lie. This was a custom home that I built. We have a construction company too, and it was a custom build for a client who had very tight budget. And so when it came to the landscaping, they were, totally out of money. And so it's embarrassing for us being landscape contractors as well to actually landscape our own house. And so this was a house that we did not put a job site sign in front of. And
it is a pretty house.
It is.
It's got the wrong plant. Totally wrong plant.
It's got the totally wrong plant.
Yeah. But
it's also got the totally wrong color of brick matching the roof, matching their choice. Now, granted, this was custom. So we sat down with them. What color brick you want? We go to Pine Hall brick. We want that brown brick. All right. What color shutters you want? We want brown. All right. What color siding you want up here? We want brown. What color roof you want? We want brown. Well, guess what color his truck was?
Brown.
It was brown. What color was their Honda minivan?
Brown.
It was brown.
White brown.
What was their last name?
Brown.
The Brown. I kid you not. Everything was brown in the house. Brown town, the tan walls, tan cabinets. They did do black countertops, but don't get me wrong. Super nice couple. And they ran over on some things, and they about didn't close. By picking out different lighting fixtures and, kitchen faucet. I'm like, guys, these are things that can be picked out later. You don't have to do them right now. This is something you upgrade, 2 years down the road. Yep. But anyway,
Eric, I would say, hindsight being 2020.
Yes, sir.
And they custom built it and they knew what they wanted. But one of the first things that I would probably tell them, which is going to cost them more money, they really should have pulled that sidewalk out away from the house. Yep. So you could actually put something in there that would grow.
Yep.
And just had it to where it was, a little curvy or whatnot. And just, especially on that garage end, had it, a lot of space there.
Oh yeah.
So
they could have
something with it. So there you go. We just say, take that sidewalk out and let's redesign that. And then we can drop your landscape in behind that up to the house.
We could do something like this.
Yeah.
And just, break up those straight lines.
That's it.
Yep. Good point. Good point.
I think the biggest thing, Eric, a lot of people, a lot of contractors, they go by the simplest and the quickest way to do it.
Oh yeah. Yes. Yep. And, you know, and really, guys, when we get there, the builder's tired of dealing with the homeowner. You know, they've gotten arguments over, you know, kitchen cabinets. They've gotten arguments over plumbing fixtures. And when they get to us, you know, it can be a pain. And so the good builders, what I call good custom home builders, they're going to call you and say, hey, Eric, you know, we've got one ready. You know, I want you to meet the Smiths. They're going to be out here on the property this Thursday evening. Can you come by? You know, I've got $15,000 budgeted in landscape. You know, it's a $700,000 house, which should be more than that if it's $700,000. But they've got a budget, but they want to do a lot more. I want you to come out here and meet them. They're looking at a plan. You know, I don't care what it costs. We're just going to run it through me. So if it's a $200,000 landscape job, that's fine. I need to add my percentage to it. And those are the builders you want to work for. And they do exist. But you got a lot of hot shotters that are, you know, throwing them up as quick as they can. And when they get to us, they've got $1,500 landscape budget.
They don't have enough to even get started.
Exactly. Exactly. And they're, you know, come Thursday afternoon, they're headed to Myrtle Beach. So, but
that's why you want to work for the client, the homeowner.
Exactly. Exactly. So we've got this. The one thing that, you know, that we could change, you know, I don't know why they did white windows with everything
being brown.
They should have done brown. They should have done that tan color.
Yeah.
I would have wanted to do some cedar post here. This could have been done. They could have painted that door. And these are suggestions that we can always make for customers. I mean, we can put in cedar posts, you know, we can paint, you know, or have our painter do it. I love a painted red door. Red door to me just invites people to your house. It's the neighborly thing to do. Because I'll admit, my favorite is painted white brick with a black roof, cedar post, and then some wood cedar accents on the painted roof. Now, what I'm seeing a lot in construction now, because literally the only color soffit that you can get is this tan colored and white. I'm seeing custom homes being built where they're actually painting the soffit black. And then they're doing black gutters. They're doing black shutters on a painted white brick. And man, does it look outstanding. To have all
on handrails as well.
Yep. Doing handrails across the front would break up some of that monotony. That's something we can do.
Bring in a couple of truckloads of dirt and add some contour to the front of that place.
Build it up.
Yep. Yep.
Pull this walk out. And you know what? The sidewalks don't have to be straight, do they?
No.
You can do some meandering walks.
Don't have to be concrete. It could be paver walk too.
That's right.
Especially if you're a hardscaper like Grant, right? You don't sell that, ain't you? And like, and that would match, you know, because you could get a tan colored, you know, if they were, you know, if everything has to be brown for them.
Tan or gray.
You could be, it could be gray. But definitely change out these shutter colors.
You need to spalier something up on the garage wall.
Exactly. Perfect.
Yeah, right up through there. There you go.
Need something evergreen on that left corner.
Babe. Oh, okay.
Where you lose an elevation on the left side, maybe a oak leaf holly or something like that.
Oak leaf holly, yeah.
Yep. And if we'd have pulled this walk out, we could have done the exact same thing.
And framed it.
That's right.
Frame the site.
Yep. Good points, guys. Good stuff. Now, I don't like this. Boy. It had two windows here that they moved around back.
Oh, man. Okay.
Which is not a good thing. Not a good thing. So the same thing here. What could we do?
Screen the heat pumps.
Yep. We could have had some espalier here as well, too.
Oh, yeah.
Screen these out.
Only problem with that, and I still do it all the time.
The pruning.
You know, if you have any pests coming into the house and they spray the perimeter, the exterminator sprays the perimeter, the bugs can still go up the plants and get on the house.
Get into the, yeah. True.
They put those windows in the back to bring in light. That's a south-facing rear.
Yep. That's exactly why they did it. But could corner that, screen in this. I would close this off with some lattice. Just a close up.
What are they going to do with that downspout? Put it on the post?
Let's see. Yep. And that's, yeah.
Look at that.
You know what? I you know, being the builder, I take responsibility for that. It's just one of the things. It either comes out right here or it comes out over here.
Put rain chains on there.
Yep.
Yeah.
You've done that.
Yeah, it's not carrying much water. Put rain chains on.
Now, not a bad back, you know. And what it is, they move these couple extra windows, and put them down, and put them in the back instead of having them over here. But like you said, it allows all this light to come in, because from like right here, you know, it's family room and kitchen, so they're getting all that light in there. Decent size porch, decent size, you know, deck, but I would do the lattice, you know, just to kind of cover that up.
Plants. Put in plants.
Or plants.
Wax myrtles.
What kind of plants?
Wax myrtles would do good.
Yep.
I'd screen that house over there to the right.
To the right. Mm-hmm. What about put a Leland cypress right here, guys?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Arborvitae.
Arborvitae.
Or green giant.
Green giants. Green giants.
Or cryptomeria.
That woke y'all up.
Bag in there before you put it in the ground.
How many times do we see a builder plant a Leland cypress as a corner foundation plant?
Yeah, cover them more.
All the time.
Are y'all still using those?
Leland's? No.
Nope. Not
I mean, you know, I haven't even looked for them in the nursery in a long time.
Good.
A lot of nurseries don't
stop growing that in a Bradford pear.
Yeah, and I know. You ever drive by the airport in Greensboro, you know, springtime when they're blooming, and you see all those wild Bradford pears?
They're beautiful.
They're beautiful when they're blooming.
In the fall, too, they're beautiful.
Yeah. And I agree with you on that. That is the most perfect white bloom there is. But they're about to overtake our farm. That's all we do is dig up these things. My aunt and uncle planted 2 Bradford pears in their front yard, and the birds have just covered up the pasture land. And that's all we do.
The wild ones have thorns.
Yep.
You know, I mean, they're brittle. They break out. They snap out so bad.
Yep.
You know,
if there's any kind of a snow load on them, they break.
Yep.
Yeah, or if they're not pruned, and if they didn't pinch them in the nursery to make them bush out like a ball, and they grew more upright, they probably wouldn't snap out as bad.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, I tell you what I did. My mama had some in her yard, and basically what I did is I went back in the fall and I cut them back. I mean, heavy with a chainsaw.
Yeah.
And she says, I don't care. She said, if you don't do it, they're going to break anyway, because I was trying to get some of the weight off, and they come out and they are beautiful. And I'm actually in the Kinston area, and everybody you think of is doing it now. But
what are they doing again?
We're actually cutting the Bradford pears back because over a period of time that wood gets hard, and when it gets hard, it splinters and breaks off. And basically what we're doing is we're going where they branch out, maybe about 4 feet where it branches out. We're actually cutting them back with chainsaws and giving them that ball look up top. And then it comes out with new growth, and it's just as pretty as they can be. And you ain't got to worry about them breaking off no more.
What are you doing that like every year?
No. I did it one good time, and then basically what we do is like every 3 years we'll go back and kind of snip them back a little bit. Yeah. But the big heavy part is gone. I mean, you ain't got to worry about them breaking off.
Gotcha.
It gets expensive pruning those because it gets so big.
Too much
like pruning a big Nellie Stevens.
Yeah.
You know, it takes time and money.
Yep. But you know what? I love a big pruning job.
But you're not doing the pruning, are you?
Job security. Security.
I love a Corona. I mean, just take a pair of hand pruners and do right by the plant. You know, there are so many people that do not know how to prune. And the idea is when you prune, that shrub's supposed to look natural. You know, it's not supposed to look like a pancake or a basketball. And I learned that from my mom and my aunt. It taught me how to prune. I hated it growing up, but I love it right now. I mean, I could put in my headphones and do it all day long.
The problem is they put the plants in the wrong place.
Yep.
And so you got to butcher them, and
yes,
you know, you can't let them grow natural. And that's where it's just kind of ignorant.
Yep. And, you know, people don't want to pay, you know, what it costs to actually prune them by hand. That's why people have gotten the hedge clippers and, you know, get done and in and out.
We got to where we can prune a lot of shrubs with the hedge clippers, but not make them look like all the same, you know, leave them natural too. Because a lot of customers are not going to pay to do a hand prune job.
Yeah.
So that's just fact.
Yep.
I mean,
it is. It is. You know, there are a handful out there.
Yep.
That would do it. But you know, there's very little expense in a tarp and a leaf rake and a pair of Coronas. And I think that is a service that we could probably sell more often. You know, and it's not the, you know, 300 an hour or whatever, running a skid steer excavator type. This is more of, you know, your $100 an hour job that you can pay a good horticulturalist, you know, $30 an hour to do it. I would like to investigate that a little more to see if there was people that were willing to do it. But again, it's educating the client. And it just takes that, and it takes time for them to see that. But you know, there's plenty of pictures that we can go out there of bad jobs with the hedge clipper. So it's just like, you know, pollarding crepe myrtles. You know, do we do it or do we not do it?
No, we don't do that.
If you're in France, maybe.
Yeah, France is big about that. But does pollarding really hurt that crepe myrtle? It doesn't. Crepe myrtles, I mean, you can't kill the things. So when you cut them back, and here's the thing, if you've got a $25,000 maintenance contract for a property and, you know, a residential, and they're like, we want our crepe myrtles cut back. What are you going to do? Are you going to say, we're not going to do this job that we're making good money off of to not do it? If you educate them and say, look, we don't agree to this because of this and this, but they're like, we still want it done. What do? You do it. You do it.
Crepe murder.
Yes. And this might be the time when you have a truck that don't have your logo on it. Slide in real quick and do it and get out. But yeah, you don't want to lose a huge maintenance contract because you don't cut the crepe myrtles back. Now, maybe you can convince them, hey, let's remove the crepe myrtles. If you like crepe myrtles, let's get rid of the Natchez and get one of the dwarf growing ones that don't get so big. So try to sell them up on that. But you know, it happens all the time on commercial properties, and they plant these Natchez right in front of the signage.
Yep.
And when you got a tenant that's paying $3,000 a month for his pizza shop, he's mad if they can't see the sign out there that says, you know, Papa Pizza. And so you're out there with a chainsaw cutting back crepe myrtle so he can see the signage, because the property management company is going to fire you if you don't.
That's right.
And it goes back to that, landscape architect. Why did you plant them here in the first place? So
bingo.
Let's dig them out and plant something a lot smaller if you can. Always try to upsell them on that. But again, you don't want to lose a contract just because of a crepe myrtle. You're not going to kill that crepe myrtle.
Oh, no.
The side of the house, not too bad. It needs some plants right here. Some plants growing up around here. Nice little, path to the back. And
you got a lot of water rolling off that driveway too.
Yep. Coming down. It could be another, dry creek bed. You kind of meander it down through here, down to the pond. We could build a patio right here. You could do an outdoor kitchen. All great opportunity for a backyard, but you still want to keep those views
of the pond
to the water feature. Yep.
Eric, if you go back to the last slide, last picture, your access door, I noticed that's PVC, and it's got the little groove in it that makes it look like a cabinet door.
Yep.
And I put those in for people. A lot of times I'll get on a property where the doors are rotted out.
Yeah.
And I'll get a measurement and order them. Most of the time they're only a couple $100, and it's held in with maybe 4 of those Tapcon screws.
Yeah.
So it's not a whole lot of trouble to switch them out, but you can make money off of that, helping the customer out.
Yep. And what kind of door are you putting in?
Well, it's made out of PVC. They're made out of over here in Wendell, I believe. It's Wendell or Zebulon, outside of Raleigh.
Gotcha.
And
get them in
order it from the building supply, but it's all PVC.
Yeah.
So it's not going to rot out.
Do they have multiple colors, or is it just white?
Just white. You don't want to paint it.
Yeah.
If you painted it, it'll warp.
Yeah.
You can't paint that PVC.
I didn't know if they were maybe doing some other type of, because that white sticks out like a sore thumb on that brown brick.
I agree. But at the same time, that's going to last indefinitely.
Oh, yeah.
And the wood doesn't.
Yeah. I've actually seen them, builders make them out of plywood.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Just anything they can find. The scraps left over, they're building that crawl space door.
Well, they only have to stand behind that house for a year.
Yeah.
They have a 1-year warranty on that house. You have a longer warranty on your car.
Yeah, you do. Yep.
And so they really don't care.
No.
As long as you don't catch it in that first year, they're good. They're
good to go. Yep.
Yeah. They're good to go.
I like what they're doing now is the sealed crawl space.
Yep.
You get rid of the foundation vents.
Yep.
And you create conditioned space. So
they're doing that a lot.
Yep. And I at one time I thought they were actually going to make that part of code where all crawl spaces are conditioned space. It does real well for energy efficiency. I know people think, well, you've got an extra vent down there, but keeping that space conditioned helps, with your heating and cooling, even all throughout, especially if you're using like a foam insulation on your exterior walls.
We did it 2 years ago here. And
yeah.
I wish I had done it 10 years ago.
Sealing up your crawl space.
Absolutely. That's one of the best things that we could have done for our home.
Yep. I agree. All right. Just another close up of the deck. We could do some type of planting here, here. And again, like I said, if we had the time, we'd mark this up and do all kinds of stuff. We'd see it visually there. So in conclusion, the evaluation of the property is one of the most important steps in ensuring a successful landscape design. Architects and designers must take into account the natural, cultural, and man-made characteristics of the property when creating a base map. And then the use of GIS and GPS allows architects and designers to access data about the site more quickly. So, and that does kind of conclude the topics. And I know where we didn't take a 10-minute break, we got about 7 more minutes to complete the 2 50-hour segments that is required. So any questions, comments, or concerns?
Comments.
Yes, sir.
Back in the cultural, way back in the first screens.
Yes, sir.
I would tell you that when you get a contract signed with your client, the most important signature you can have on it is mama's.
Is what? Mama's.
Is mama's. Yes. Found out over and over and over again.
Yes. Yes. I do have a good friend of mine in the Greensboro area. Speaking of that, Chris, he does a lot of hardscapes, outdoor kitchens and whatnots. And he priced the job, got the job, and he met with the owner, and the husband's like, I don't care what this woman says, she gets. I'm the man writing the paycheck.
Yep.
If she wants the moon and the sun, you're going to give it to her. I'll write you a check. They finished the project. Everything was good. He was waiting on that last, bit of money that he was getting. The guy calls him and says, hey man, we got your check, but I got one little problem here. They said, can you come over and I'll give you a check, but I want you to fix it. Okay. He gets over there and the husband's like, I love everything about this job. You guys did great, but I don't like the way you laid the pavers. I want them in a different pattern.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, he's like, well, your wife picked out this pattern. He's like, I don't care what that woman said. I don't like the paver pattern. I want them pulled up and relayed in basket weave.
Oh, wow.
A nightmare.
A nightmare. He called his attorney. He says, what leg do I have to stand on? He says, well, how much is it going to cost you to pull them up and relay them? He gave him the price. He said, well, my fee is going to cost you more than that. So I suggest you pull them up and relay them. And that's what they did. Guess what's in the contract from here on out that they take a big old check box and circle is the paver pattern.
Mm-hmm. Man.
Mom would have to pick it out and daddy was going to pay it. But daddy in the long run, you got him on it.
That's a good idea. We did one the other day. And I was a little concerned about it. I just had one of my foremen, one of my newer foremans, he was doing the job. I said, this is your job.
Yeah.
And it's some of those things, and you all know this, I'm preaching to the choir here, but you're giving that job and you're there with them and you want to inject, but you're trying to let it be their job. I didn't really like how he was doing it. She come out, she said, I love it. And I said, you guys heard that, didn't you? Every one of you heard that she loved it, after she went back in the house, so because I really didn't care for it. But, that's kind of like letting them spread their wings and fly a little bit,
Yeah.
So,
oh, yeah.
It's important.
Yep. But.
So I had a question. You said you would give your potential client a survey. What kind of questions were on that survey?
It's basically, hey, do you ever think you would want a play set or an outdoor swing set? And, somebody that's like 45 years old might not be thinking that, but then they're like, hey, our daughter just got married. Hopefully we might have grandkids, one day. So it's questions that just get them to thinking about the future and what they may want that they haven't, the things that haven't crossed their mind yet. Also, when it comes to landscape lighting, they might not ever thought of landscape lighting. And if you put on there, are you interested in landscape lighting? Or you're interested in an irrigation system? Are you interested in holiday lighting? Things that they could do a little bit later that makes it real easy to add these services or these products on for them. It just gets their mind to thinking, well, I didn't even know Eric and them did that. Yeah, that might be good if we could have that included in our design.
We've had some stuff before we did for a customer and been working for a while for them. And then they said, well, I didn't know y'all did pavers. I was like, yeah, we've been doing pavers for years. You know, that they just didn't know.
They didn't know you did it.
Yeah.
And you were able to sell the job.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
When you're doing a design, you should also ask if you ever plan to put in a swimming pool.
Yes. Yep.
Because, you know, they may not have even thought about it. But when you say that, then that gets them thinking, and you should incorporate that in the plan so that you can, even if they don't do it right now, you can kind of plan around it.
Exactly.
I know a guy just moved his whole septic system so he could put in a swimming pool.
Yeah.
Good God.
Yeah. Had to redo the irrigation and everything. Yeah. They moved the septic. Yeah, they wanted a swimming pool.
Mama must have wanted one.
Mama wanted it.
That's right. But I'm like Eric. I think it's a good idea to cover your ass and put everything you can in that contract, right down to the pattern that you're going to lay the pavers.
Yep.
Because you have people that tend to be, it seems like they're even more pickier now about attention to detail and all than they've ever been. I've noticed that the past year. I've had customers, because I've always felt like if they're pickier than I am, they're just too picky. But man, I'm running across more and more of them.
Oh, yes. Like that. Same here.
You know, so you need to have everything in that contract spelled out.
Yep.
All your dots, your I's dotted and your T's crossed.
Yes, sir.
Well, Eric, when we do a paver contract, most of the time we do the K pattern, and it's in there. It's in my contract. We do the K pattern unless they specify otherwise.
Yeah.
So,
and that covers you. Yeah. They're like, because you told them up front, you're doing that.
Right.
You know what? And it's husband and wives fight more over what they want. And they need to figure this stuff out before they even pick up the phone and call us.
Yeah.
But
I get caught between couples all the time.
Yep.
It's I think, Eric, on a lot of patterns, you know, we have a sheet that has the different patterns and stuff. And what I do is I get them to circle the pattern they want, and then I get them to sign the bottom.
Yeah. Yep. And give him a copy too.
That's right. He gets a copy and she does too.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
People are crazy, man. That's a song anyway, ain't it?
That's
right. Any other comments, concerns, or y'all ready? Y'all can go get that beer now if you want. Just couldn't be drinking during that's why I recorded it. We got Tim holding up that glass of wine.
It's really just apple juice, Eric.
Ain't nothing wrong with apple juice.
That's right. Just apple juice.
Yes, sir.
I just like my wine glass.
Yes. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate it. We're free to go. We've done 2 50-minute sections since we didn't take that 10-minute break. So
all right.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Eric. Enjoy it, buddy. Till y'all have a good one.
Hey, Eric.
All right, good night.
Good night.
Eric, I'll probably get up with you on some of the pesticide in a month or two.
Okay. Good deal.
Yeah. So I need to do some of that. So
sounds good.
All right, I appreciate it, man.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
See you.
Take care, Eric.
See y'all.
All right, buddy. Bye-bye.